I'm Paul Tevis, and I'm here to teach you how to play the Dresden Files Cooperative Card Game, or DFCO for short. In DFCO, all players work together to defeat the game itself. You play Harry Dresden, the wizard private detective, and a group of his allies, solving cases and defeating foes. This video is designed to get you started playing multiplayer games quickly. In the interest of speed, it does not cover the rules of the game in exhaustive detail. Refer to the written rules as needed. You'll also need to read the rules to learn how to modify the game for 1 or 2 players, to play the campaign game, or to play with the Side Jobs Random Scenario Generator deck. Setup. Place the game board in the middle of the table. Choose one of the available book decks. Place the Showdown card in its designated space on the board. Shuffle the other 12 book cards and deal them face up in 2 rows of 6 cards in the designated ranged spaces on the board, numbered 1 to 6. If the card at range 6 in either row is an obstacle or an advantage card, then swap its position with that of the foe or case card at the highest range in the same row. Give each player 1 character deck. Always include the Harry Dresden deck. Players separate their talent and stunt cards from the rest of their deck, placing these 2 cards face up on the table in front of them. Players shuffle the rest of their deck and then place it face down on the table in front of them. Each player then draws a hand of cards: 4 in a 5-player game, 5 in a 4-player game, and 7 in a 3-player game. Place the supply of clues, hits, and fate points on the board in their designated supply spaces. You use 13 fate points total in a game. How many of the 13 fate points start on the available fate pile determines the difficulty level of the game. For your first game, we recommend you start with all 13 fate. Then, switch to starting with 8 fate for a normal level of difficulty. The player with the Harry Dresden deck chooses which player goes first. Players may wish to have a brief discussion before this choice is made. For your first game, we recommend playing with completely open table talk. In a standard game, players are restricted from showing each other their hands or stating specific numerical values on their cards. Turn sequence. On your turn, you're going to do one of 4 things: discard a card to generate fate, play a card to take an action, use your stunt, or pass. All players share a common pool of action points, known as fate points. On most turns, you are either going to spend the team's fate points to play a card to take its action, or discard a card to generate fate for the team to use later. Discard for fate. When you discard a card to generate fate, you take the amount of fate shown in the blue icon on the left side of the card. Move that number of fate tokens from the spent tokens board space to the available fate space. Put the discarded card in your discard pile next to your deck. Whenever you discard for fate, you may use the power of your talent card. Talent powers have a wide variety of effects. For example, Harry Dresden's talent allows him to move an obstacle or advantage card by 1 range in either direction in its row. In some situations, you may not be able to use your talent. For example, if there are no obstacle or advantage cards left on the board, then Harry's talent cannot be used. Play a card to take an action. When you play a card to take an action, pay the amount of fate shown in the blue icon on the left side of the card. Move that number of fate points from the available fate space to the spent fate space. If there are not enough fate tokens in the available supply, then you cannot play the card. Once you've paid the fate cost of the card, you then use its action as shown on the card. All character cards have a range, which appears in this arrow icon on the left side of the card. This is the range of cards, counting up from the range 1 position in each row, which can be targeted by that character card. The range can be a specific number, variable, or unlimited. There are 4 types of card actions: attack, investigate, overcome, and take advantage. Each type targets one specific type of book card in the rows. Overcome cards target obstacles. Obstacles create an ongoing disadvantage for the players until the card is removed from the board. For example, the Morgan is watching obstacle makes players pay 1 extra fate every time they attack. Many obstacle cards place restrictions on players' abilities, so be sure to look over all of the obstacle cards on the board at the beginning of the game. If an obstacle is in range of an overcome card when it is played, then the obstacle is removed and placed in the book card discard pile. Some overcome cards have text effects which do more than just remove obstacles. For example, when Michael Carpenter removes an obstacle with his Fist of God card, he is able to add hits and clues to foes and cases that were adjacent to the obstacle card he targeted. Take Advantage card, target advantages. Advantages create one-time benefits for the players when they are removed from the board. Gaining these advantages at the right time is usually crucial for winning the game. For example, when Beer Max is removed from the board, the active player can draw 1 card and distribute 2 card draws among the other players. Just like Overcome cards, if an advantage is in range of a Take Advantage card, it is removed from the row, and its benefit is enacted immediately. Some Take Advantage cards have text effects which do more than just remove advantages. Attack cards target foes. Each foe remaining on the board at the end of the game counts against the player's score, so players need to defeat foes in order to win. Be sure to look at text effects on foe cards at the beginning of the game, as some of them will place restrictions on players, or have significant effects that activate when they are attacked or defeated. Attacking adds hits to the target foe equal to the hit value of the attack on the left side of the card. When the number of hits equals or exceeds the value of the foe card, remove it from the row and place it in the book card discard pile. Some attack cards' effects may provide additional benefits, or place restrictions on the card's play. Some attack actions can add hits to multiple foe cards at the same time. For example, Harry Dresden's Pyrofuego card adds 2 hits to each of the foes in 1 row. Investigate cards target cases. Each case that the players solve adds to their score. Again, be sure to read the text effects on cases at the beginning of the game. Investigating adds clues to the target cases equal to the clue value of the investigation. When the number of clues on a case equals or exceeds the solve value, remove the case card from the row and place it in the solved cases area on the game board. The text effects of investigations can also provide additional benefits, place restrictions on play, or target multiple cases at once. Use your stunt. Once per game, instead of using a card or passing, you can use the power of your stunt as your turn. You enact the stunt card's effect, and then turn the card face down to indicate that it is no longer available. The stunt may only be used in circumstances in which it will have an effect. In other words, you may not use it just to pass on a turn when its power would not be applicable. For example, Harry Dresden's stunt allows him to add up to 4 hits to a foe that will be defeated by those hits. But if there is no foe within 4 hits of being defeated, he cannot use his stunt. It's important that all players get the opportunity to use their stunts during the game, so the team should work together to make sure this happens. Passing. Finally, players may pass on their turn. However, it costs 1 fate point to pass. After the active player does one of these 4 things, play passes to the player on the left. A few effects during the game may temporarily change the turn order. Card notation. Now that you know the basics of how to play, let's take a closer look at more of the notation on the cards. Sometimes a card value has a white box with a number in it, like this. That means that you have to roll that number of fate dice and add the result to the base value in order to determine the final value. For example, the fate value of Harry's Forzare card is a base of 2 plus the roll of 1 fate die. When he discards the card for fate, he rolls a plus, which means +1 to the base value. So he generates 3 total fate points for the team. When you see a star icon, like this, on a character card, it indicates you need to read the card's text effect to determine exactly how the card is played. When you see a letter icon, like this, appear on 2 or more book cards, that indicates that there is a relationship between the text effects on those cards. For example, until the Who is the Shadow Man case is solved, players cannot add hits to the foe Kalshazak, Toad Demon. Managing contingent effects like these is crucial to the strategy of DFCO. Showdown Phase. The showdown is the final phase before the game end. It can be triggered in 3 ways. If a player employs an action card with a variable fate cost and rolls a cost that is higher than the supply of fate points currently available. If the player needs to pass and there are no fate points in the available fate point supply. Or if the players decide as a group to trigger the showdown phase at the end of a player's turn. This is the way the game ends most of the time. When players cannot usefully add more hits to foes or clues to cases, they should try to use their remaining cards to generate as many fate points as they can for use in the showdown phase. Then, players get a final chance to finish off foes and cases. Players get to roll dice once against each unsolved case that has at least 1 clue on it, and each undefeated foe that has at least 1 hit on it. Players have options to spend fate points for better odds on their showdown rolls. These options are on the showdown card, which is different for each book. For example, in Stormfront, players can roll 6 fate dice against unsolved cases without spending any fate points. Or they can get 2 plus a roll of 5 fate dice at a cost of 2 fate points. Or they can get 3 plus a roll of 6 dice at a cost of 4 fate points. Scoring. Scoring is simple. If the players have solved more cases than there are undefeated foes left on the board, they win. Otherwise, they lose. The game is meant to be difficult, so don't get frustrated if you don't win your first game. The game plays quickly and rewards the mastery that comes from repeated plays. Thanks for watching, and have fun thwarting the forces of evil.